The state of the city is keeping each other safe.
The state of the city is diverse.
A visão da cidade é brilhante e culturalmente diversa.
The state of the city is community for everyone.
The state of the city is thoughtful.
The state of the city is stronger together.
The state of the city is entrepreneurial.
The state of the city is removing barriers.
The state of the city is hard-working.
The state of the city is masked up.
The state of the city is
The state of our city is on our way to good health and being vaccinated.
The state of the city is responsive.
The state of the city is more affordable and inclusive.
The state of the city is trabajando juntos por una comunidad mejor.
The state of the city is creative.
The state of the city is protected.
The state of the city is innovative.
The state of the city is compassionate.
The state of the city is informed.
The state of the city is wicked awesome, dude.
The state of the city has more diversity. المدينة فيها من مختلف الجنسيات.
The state of our city is resilient.
The state of the city is hopeful for a more brighter and optimistic future.
Good evening. I'm Bob Maurer, your host for tonight's multicast of the City of Revere State of the City Address by Mayor Brian M. Arrigo. Mayor Arrigo makes his speech beginning the second year of his second four-year term and following a year when the ordinary duties of government were dominated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, as tonight's opening video depicts, the state of the city in 2021 can be summed up in many ways. One more word that applies: different. For the city, like the rest of the nation and the world, adapted to a different way of life during the past 12 months. But the essential functions of government carry on. Some, such as tonight, in the now familiar picture of a teleconference gallery on a computer, phone, or television screen. Tonight, for the first time in history, Revere's mayor will deliver the State of the City speech in an empty studio at Revere TV, speaking to the community over cable TV or streaming on YouTube and Facebook. That might mean you have a more comfortable seat than you would in a school auditorium, but everyone agrees. We look forward to the day, hopefully soon, when we can gather in person once again. We begin tonight's ceremony with the voices of 3 Revere High School seniors. While the pandemic has battered everyone in varying ways, our public school students have endured a most dramatic change in their lives. Their ability to accept and surmount obstacles teaches a lesson to everyone about perseverance and optimism. First, RHS Senior Stacey Lopez Hernandez will sing the Star Spangled Banner. Then her classmates Ivan Garcia and Minnah Sheikh will present their insightful and inspiring comments that portray the state of our city from their perspective during a time of change and challenge. We welcome Stacey Lopez Hernandez, followed by Ivan Garcia and Minnah Sheikh.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good evening. My name is Ivan Garcia, and I'm a senior at Revere High.
Although I was born in Colombia, Revere has been my home since I was 10. Almost exactly 1 year ago, I was preparing myself to embark on a trip to Italy with the school's Italian Honor Society. In my mind, I was expecting this to be the most impactful voyage I was going to experience in 2020. Little did I know that 2 weeks after coming back, the whole city was pushed into a journey that has repeatedly tested us all in similar yet unique ways. Being one of the most impacted areas of the state, we've all seen how much our community has suffered. We've all dealt with losses, loneliness, and uncertainty. But we've also seen how strong our unity can be. We've seen how so many volunteers have come together to form food pantries, and how the city's youth came together to organize a Black Lives Matter march. Seeing how these hard times have brought out the best in us, and how much Revere has supported me, I decided to help in something I have experience in, school. Once classes started in the fall, my robotics mentor and physics teacher, Mr. Miranda, and I came to a realization. If adjustment to virtual learning was a challenge to high school students in top classes, there had to be many middle schoolers in need of support. That's how we started the virtual tutoring program we're currently running. In this program, we have calls twice a week in which any middle school student can join in if they have any questions with their homework or the content they're learning in class. Our goal is to expand our program to the English learner community at the high school. This is possible due to our amazing diversity, allowing our program to already have 5 foreign languages available to help the students. This city is inspirational. Through all its resources, it helped me go from not knowing any English to being a future Harvard student. It's inspirational to see how we're still persevering through this global pandemic. But it's even more heartening to see where we will be when this is over. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Minnah Sheikh. I'm currently a senior at Revere High School, and I am truly honored to be standing here today, acting as a voice for our community. Since I was given this opportunity, I'd like to take my time today to make a confession. I love fairy tales. Growing up, using the tactics of puppy eyes and but mama, please, I'd convince my mother to read through countless stories, pushing me to get lost in a world of fiction as I drifted asleep. But one of my favorite stories is the story of Mulan. For those unfamiliar with the tale, taking place in China under the Han Dynasty, a man from each family is called to arms against the Huns. Lacking a son, Mulan's father, an old man who can barely walk, decides to keep the honor of his family and head to war. Taking offense to this, Mulan dresses up like a man, as women were not allowed in the military at the time, and goes to fight on his behalf. In conclusion, Mulan ends up being a hero. Yet Mulan was a type of hero which had never been seen before. A woman from a humble background whose actions helped her community. Moreover, helped keep her community safe. She was an uncommon hero. Over the past year, I can't help but notice how many Mulans we see in Revere today. Every year, Google releases its Year in Search report, where they encapsulate 365 days worth of questions into a singular document. Although my frantic 3 a.m. searches of why did I procrastinate on my college supplement essays did not make that list, third under the how-to category was how to help during the coronavirus pandemic. In our city and in our community, we saw hunger. We saw eviction. We saw struggle. But we also saw countless volunteers at the city's pop-up food banks. We saw young people advocate for an extension on the housing moratorium. We saw uncommon heroes. Working as a COVID ambassador with Revere Youth in Action's voter outreach team and through a number of leadership roles within the school, I got to be a part of that work. I got to meet new heroes. All of our city's heroes add up to the plot of our city's story. Over the past year, we've had our fair share of dark pages and plot twists. As we watched our world shut down, loved ones pass, and the effervescence of police brutality ravage our nation, we all felt the solemnity of these moments, the darkness of this chapter. But as a little kid in me that remains obsessed with fairy tales will tell you, the heroes always prevail. Throughout these difficult months, we've seen spots of light, uncommon heroes. As we move forward together, let us find ways to create bright moments in each other's lives, ways to ensure that this chapter of our story is brighter and better. Keep turning the pages. Keep being the heroes of our story. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacey, Ivan, and Minnah, for your leadership and positive vision. While the pandemic has interfered with many of our usual activities, government adapts and continues its function. Now, in keeping with history and tradition, the mayor, as chief executive of the city, will make his annual report to the community and its governing bodies on the state of our city. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Brian M. Arrigo.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you. It truly feels like a lifetime ago. Several hundred people, none wearing masks, filled the auditorium at the Susan B. Anthony Middle School. I stood elbow to elbow with our elected officials as we committed to 4 more years of progress and to work together to manage the challenges that come with growth and prosperity. We even embraced and shook hands when it was all over. It was a night filled with optimism for the limitless opportunity of our city. No one in that auditorium could have imagined that just 12 months later, isolated from each other and longing for a return to a way of life that we once took for granted, I would deliver our State of the City address via Zoom and Facebook Live. Thanks to many months of practice in front of our computer screens, I do still have the opportunity to acknowledge and thank all of the elected officials who have joined us tonight virtually and continue to work on behalf of our residents. I'm also joined tonight by my family. Watching from home, Davine, Joseph, and Jack, I love you guys. You have brought me joy and comfort amid sadness and uncertainty. And you've given me the strength to make the most of each day in the mayor's office. Indeed, this year has tested our faith as we've confronted the greatest challenge of our lifetime. COVID-19 has crippled parts of our economy, left many in poor health or without jobs, exposed ever-widening inequity among neighbors, and has taken the lives of too many of our friends, colleagues, and loved ones. As we face these challenges, our country also became engulfed in a painful reckoning with our failures to achieve racial equity and justice. We grieve the senseless and violent deaths of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, and our country's long history of racial injustice and violence against Black people. Our hearts broke again last month when the symbol of our democracy came under attack, and the very worst of our country played out on our television screens. And while adversity overshadowed this past year, it also illuminated our collective strength, our resolve, our compassion, and our devotion to one another. Tonight, as we reflect on the past, we can also look confidently toward the future. Not in spite of, but because of what the last year has taught us. Revere stands poised to build on the shared values that have brought us together and provide a solid foundation for every person in our city. To pursue decent employment, good health, quality housing, and opportunity. The hardships of 2020 will not thwart our progress. They will accelerate it. Before we look to the future, however, we must accept as a community the truth that this virus that has upended our lives will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. Our health depends on all of us to do simple but vital acts like social distancing and wearing a mask. Even as we work to vaccinate our residents, we must remain vigilant and endure the sacrifices necessary to protect our neighbors, our families, and ourselves. When COVID-19 barreled into our lives last March, we braced for something none of us had ever experienced. And tonight, on behalf of our entire city, I offer my deepest gratitude to the countless people who have stepped up, putting others in our city before themselves and their own families' needs. Undaunted, our city staff rose to every challenge. They committed the hours and the energy required to undertake all of the new work that a global pandemic requires. And they have done it now for nearly a year. Every day I witness my colleagues, perform tasks that go above and beyond their duties. Revere was one of the first communities in the Commonwealth to mobilize an emergency response team to coordinate a comprehensive response to the pandemic, made up of leaders across departments functioning as one single team. And with the support of dozens of volunteers and staff, our ERT created plans and executed to oversee case management, testing, and contact tracing, to provide PPE and supplies, to support our students and our teachers, to shift our city services online, to help prevent evictions and foreclosures, to aid our business community, and to protect our most vulnerable populations. To the 1,700 public servants that have joined us in this work, thank you. For the past year, we have been at war with COVID-19. And as Minnah and Ivan pointed out, heroes have emerged. It would be impossible to name all of the volunteers, all of the community leaders and the residents who we have enlisted in the battle. Our community-based organizations joined us to improve and amplify our response. They make up our community response network, organizing to help with food, supplies, and housing, ensuring outreach to all our residents in their native languages, and providing neighbor checks and assistance, as so many dealt with financial and health crises. It was their counsel that led to the formation of our COVID Ambassador Program, a true model for how cities can meet their residents where they are and better serve them. Our faith leaders have acted as a trusted resource. What started as an informal monthly conversation on Saturday afternoons to provide public health guidance has laid the foundation for interfaith collaboration and acceptance. Acceptance that will help us heal together. Our volunteers, hundreds of them, of all ages and backgrounds, raised their hands to fill in the gaps. In response to a staggering need for food and basic supplies, they worked outside for hours at a time, in heat, in rain, and in snow to provide hundreds of thousands of pounds of food to our residents who needed support. Going so far as to make door-to-door deliveries for our seniors and families and residents that were in quarantine. They also joined us to team up with the First Congregational Church's food pantry to meet the growing demand and to help them move the pantry operations, not just once, but twice, to serve more families. In 2020, the church provided more than 13,000 meals to nearly 5,000 Revere families, a five-fold increase over 2019. Our school nurses, who have always provided exceptional care to our youngest residents, stepped into new roles as community-wide disease trackers and advisors to people of every age. They put their vacations, their time with their families, and the rest of their lives on hold to comfort those who had just lost a loved one and to communicate the critical importance of unprecedented public health restrictions. And now they've stepped into new roles as vaccinators. When other communities have said, we can't do that, our public health team has asked, when can we start? One person that I'm compelled to recognize by name is Dr. Nathalee Kong. Less than a year after her appointment as the chair of Board of Health, she was thrown into the middle of a massive public health crisis. We consistently relied on her expertise, her advice, her judgment to chart our course. In the same way that she provides comfort to so many of our residents in her office on Ocean Ave, Dr. Kong responded with patience and compassion. She has been our most vital connection to trusted medical information. As the pandemic tore through our local economy, many Revere businesses were forced to close or scale back their operations, suffering devastating loss. Our economic development team rushed to their aid, providing emergency small business grants to over 100 businesses to help them retain employees and obtain the supplies and services that they needed to adapt. And I'm proud to share that 70% of the grant money that was awarded to women, minority, and veteran-owned businesses, historically the most underserved and most likely to encounter barriers to success. And at the same time, we doubled down on our commitment to local workforce development. Alarmed by extraordinary unemployment rates, staff worked with area leaders to create Revere Works. This coalition of technical experts, workforce training agencies, and educational providers are offering Revere residents coordinated workforce development programming through employer and community engagement. As we closed out 2020, Revere had achieved the state's most substantial decline in unemployment in the entire Commonwealth. From my first day in the mayor's office in 2016, it has been my priority to modernize City Hall to better serve our residents. Over the past 5 years, we've overhauled archaic computer systems. We've created an interactive website where residents can conduct city business at their convenience. And we've centralized constituent services in our 311 office. All this was done to make city services accessible to all residents, no matter their age, no matter what neighborhood they live in, or where they called home before joining our community. Our efforts paid off when frequent, clear communication with residents was more important than ever, and when face-to-face interaction with City Hall was severely limited. During 2020, our 311 call takers answered 3 times the number of calls they did in 2019. Paper-only forms became accessible online. And in 2021, we plan to make just about every interaction with City Hall easy to access from anywhere, at any time. When COVID-19 closed municipal meetings to the public, we were readily equipped to switch to remote participation and interaction. Indeed, since the pandemic began, the city has hosted more than 1,500 Zoom meetings, welcoming more than 15,000 participants. Our new email and text messaging systems provide regular updates directly to thousands of subscribers. And today we are announcing the launch of Engage Revere, an easy-to-use online tool that will allow residents to frequently share their feedback on a broad range of topics. We are committed to doing an even better job of listening and acting on your ideas for our city. When COVID-19 forced our senior center, our youth center, and our library to close, our teams pivoted to maintain services, and in many cases became conduits of hope. At the library, staff created a new website, virtual programming, and curbside pickup. Meanwhile, the library itself underwent long-awaited repairs. At the Senior Center, we maintained a vital connection to isolated residents, prioritizing calls for supplies, food, and reassurance, all while creating new programming in partnership with Revere TV. Our recreation department found new ways to engage our youth through COVID-safe programming. And they helped deliver both Easter bunny and Santa Claus to every street in Revere, while also taking on more serious roles, like distributing supplies and supporting our 311 team. As COVID-19 tightened its grip on our city, we saw a distressing increase in homelessness. Our dedicated veteran services and substance use disorder offices tackled the formidable task of reaching those in desperate need of service and support. Their work, quite simply, saved lives, and we cannot thank them enough for their efforts. And so, in a year of unprecedented volatility, we adapted. And we were able to do so because of the quality and the dedication of our team, which has crafted new and bold ways to deliver for our residents. The work to bring city government into the 21st century doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't just happen online, and it's not only in response to COVID-19. It's happening in our streets, in our parks, and with the people who serve you every day. By supplying our public works and water and sewer departments with the equipment and the personnel that they desperately needed, neighborhoods that were plagued by flooding, after even mild rainfall, have seen the difference that cleared, functioning storm drains can and will make. In 2020, after nearly 6 years of wrangling with state and federal agencies, we cleared the Eastern County ditch for the first time in anyone's memory. This project, funded through the new development on Ocean Ave, unclogged a major drainage outlet for the entire eastern half of our city. In 2021, plans are underway for similar work at Green Creek. Our public safety departments have also been strengthened with additional personnel, equipment, and training. Within weeks, we will see the beginning phases of construction at the new Point of Pines Fire Station, fulfilling a decades-long dream for residents of Ward 5. At Revere Police, Chief Callahan has begun his leadership of a department that will continue to deliver quality, modernized police services that put our community at the center and exceed all standards in training, policy, and professionalism. To our first responders, on the front lines of our response to the pandemic, and those who put your own health and your own lives on the line for us each and every day, thank you. While the pandemic certainly undermined many parts of the economy, Revere continues to grow and realize new development. Amazon began operations at the former Necco site on American Legion Highway and quickly became the city's leading private employer, providing hundreds of new jobs and millions of dollars in new commercial tax revenue. Shovels are in the ground at Suffolk Downs, and by the end of 2021, we will begin to see the formative stages of construction of this transformative new neighborhood. New hotels have opened up on Revere Beach Parkway and American Legion Highway, and the construction of a third new hotel abutting the Wonderland T Station is well underway. And in a matter of months, the south end of Revere Beach Boulevard and Ocean Ave will become a home to new residents and a new restaurant that will bring life back to a stretch of property that sits just steps away from the ocean. And shortly, I will submit to the City Council a master plan for the transformation of the city's riverfront district. This underutilized section of the city will be revived by development that includes upgrades to Gibson Park, the establishment of a community boating center, and the redevelopment of a former tow yard. The riverfront project will include innovative technology to address area flooding and traffic while creating recreational space in an area long overlooked. Revere's reputation has soared and attracted the attention of businesses with strong regional and national reputations. Our exceptional location, sound financial condition, and steady leadership has us well positioned to attract tourists, business travelers, and new investment when the pandemic subsides. We will ensure that Revere residents are the first to reap these benefits using innovative workforce training and resources. The pandemic has magnified the significance of a safe, healthy, and stable home. Just last week, 51 affordable units became available by lottery, with 34 committed for Revere preference. More than 400 of our Revere residents applied for those 34 spots. The need for affordable housing has never been greater. As part of my administration's efforts to aid vulnerable homeowners and renters, this year we will propose the formation of an affordable housing trust fund to coordinate sustained public and private resources and support critically important affordable housing programs and services for all residents. We will continue to ensure our residents have access to jobs and training. Next month, we will unveil a comprehensive workforce development plan that charts a course for strategic partnerships, capital development, and skill-building pathways for the next 10 years. And we will continue to prioritize economic development programs that give small business owners the opportunity to originate and grow here in Revere. We will build out a citywide food truck program to engage local entrepreneurs and activate public spaces, spaces that will be host to additional COVID-safe community events and outdoor seating this summer. And with state funding, we will develop economic recovery strategies for our Broadway Business District. As we strive to lay the groundwork for an equitable recovery from this public health and economic crisis, we bear witness to raw and bitter divisiveness across our country. Revere is not immune to these challenges, but we are committed to assuring all of our residents that unity in our city is not just a spoken ideal. It is our never-ending purpose. And we will continue to take action to promote these values. In 2020, we reestablished our Human Rights Commission, which has begun its work to advocate for equity and justice for every person in our city. I'd like to acknowledge and thank our commission members for their willingness to lead and participate in difficult conversations and their dedication to the tremendous amount of work that lies ahead. The work of our Human Rights Commission is echoed in the school department's Equity Advisory Board. Our schools are focused on increasing diversity among staff, changing structures to ensure all students have access to high-quality coursework, and working with school-based equity teams to dismantle existing structures that marginalize some students. And while these efforts embody official structures to combat inequity, the duty lies within each and every one of us. Our young people especially demonstrate the personal responsibility and the courage required to stand up for change, to voice different opinions, and to send a clear message that Black Lives Matter. It is through their work to organize and protest peacefully that gives me hope for our future. I now want to take this opportunity to speak directly to all of our students and families. I know that so many of you have suffered greatly over the last year. And while the anger and anxiety that surrounds remote learning continues to hang over our heads, I'm here tonight to say that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. In partnership with Dr. Kelly, our school committee, and the Revere Teachers Association, I want you to know that we will do everything in our power to get our kids back into their classrooms, where they belong. Because we can all agree that our students deserve the best. And as each day passes, it is getting safer and safer to make this happen. The efforts of our teachers, transportation workers, administrators, food service workers, custodians, paraprofessionals, social workers, guidance counselors, translators, and family liaisons, their work to help students and families traverse this pandemic, their work has not gone unnoticed. Your work will ensure a better school system going forward. The end of this pandemic is near, and we will return our focus to the issues and challenges that existed long before COVID-19 highlighted them. As I speak, our public health team is working day and night to get our most vulnerable residents vaccinated. We are actively reaching out to our residents through phone banks, text messages, emails, and direct mail to help arrange for their vaccination. Members of our vaccine hotline team have spoken directly with over 2,000 of our seniors over the age of 75. On the other end of the line, we can hear the relief, the appreciation, and the belief that brighter days are ahead. COVID-19 will one day be a part of history. There will be a new day when we will again share smiles and hugs and all of our favorite pastimes. There will be gatherings of friends and family, celebrations, lots of celebrations, I'm sure. There will also be a day when we will unveil a suitable memorial where our community can stand together to honor those that we've lost to this pandemic. Our collective perseverance, our goodwill, and our courage will see us through. I know this will happen because I've seen right here in our community the way our people rally to help each other and advocate for each other and sacrifice for each other. Yes, while the pandemic has highlighted the fractures, it's also directed our focus to where our efforts are needed most and where they can be most effective. And those efforts have become our mission. Our recovery is underway. We go forward now, every one of us, resolute to stand together, regain our strength, regain our health, and mend what has broken. Every morning, I see the sun rise, and I see the shine of its first rays on our city. And I'm hopeful. I make the promise to my family and to all of you that we will never stop in the face of a challenge. We will work tirelessly and together to assure everyone that our city will be a beacon of inclusion, unity, and growth. Working together, Revere will thrive as never before. This is the state of our city.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes tonight's speech, but the conversation continues online. Please go to revere.org/engage to respond to the mayor's speech by answering survey questions and sharing your visions for the future of the city of Revere. Thank you for watching, and good night.